Here he comes.
Who's running in?
When Jim comes in, let's applaud him. Hey.
My apologies.
No, you're right on time. I'll let you know when you're set. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We love to see so many people here at our meetings. This is the City Council meeting for Monday, July 20th. Tom, can you please do a roll call?
Councilmember Reardon,
Here.
Councilmember Cirque,
Here?
Mayor Gunzelman,
Here.
the late Vice Mayor, Jim Swift, and Susan.
Here.
All right, all here.
Will you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? We're going to start the evening with something wonderful, a long overdue presentation of a proclamation written by Vice Mayor Cirque to Lisa Kozlowski. And Lisa, if you want to come up here, I think Julia has some words for you.
I'll save my best for Lisa, this is long overdue. For the last 25, 30 years, part of this community would not be the same without you. And when I interviewed you and tried to put your accomplishments, your work efforts, your initial plans for projects that have been ongoing, and then I'll add another one that I learned about this evening, it was a struggle to put it on one page. So for those that would like a copy of her accomplishments, I can make these available at the end. Oh, whoops, that's the wastewater monitoring plan. But that would be about the same size. So I just want to personally thank you before we make a professional, and it is a personal, from the entire council and the city staff, to recognize what you have meant and what you have done for this city. So without further ado, whereas the city of Sutter Creek is committed to recognizing and honoring members of our community who selflessly donate time and energy for the betterment of our city. And whereas Lisa Kozlowski has devoted her mind and spirit in creating and coordinating many of our most local events and establishing a new visitor center, in addition to providing a long-standing business in the town since 1999. And whereas Lisa has created local events, including the Sutter Creek Chili Cook-Off and Car Show, Mardi Gras Party, Sutter Creek Ladies Night, Sutter Creek Wine Walk, and Sutter Creek Festival of the Arts. And whereas Lisa was involved in coordinating local events, including the Great Sutter Creek Duck Race, way back when, Sutter Creek Christmas Open House, Sutter Creek Brews and Blues Festival, and whereas Lisa has served on the Sutter Creek Business Association board for 18 years and was a founding board member of the Sutter Creek Community Benefit Foundation. And whereas Lisa served as the director of the prior visitor center for 10 years and has been the director of the new visitor center for the past 3 years. And whereas Lisa, through relentless efforts, outreach, and creativity, coordinated the opportunity to establish the new visitor center on Main Street in 2023, which is a landmark for tourists and local community members alike. Lisa now oversees 40 dedicated volunteers and has also created and published colored brochures and calendars that have reached local, national, and international publications to promote our community. And whereas Lisa works to expand the usefulness of the Visitor Center by working with local organizations, including Sutter Creek Lions Club, to help those in our community in need by serving as a drop-off for donations. And I learned this evening that in 2013, Lisa stepped forward and to the city council in an effort to get the city involved in saving the Sutter Creek Elementary School. That I didn't know, and I would give you the opportunity. I would like to put this in. I will redo that. I just found that out this evening. So that is huge, because without that, our elementary school would not have the support and the restoration that it does. So we hope to get that added. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Sutter Creek that Lisa Klasowski has made a profound and resounding impact in our community through her efforts and accomplishments with our visitor center and events. We extend our deepest gratitude to Lisa for her dedication in making Sutter Creek a better community. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very much. I appreciate it. Oh, I'm so loud. Thank you. I'm a loud person anyway. Thank you very much. That is amazing. The Mardi Gras party and Cajun cook-off, which you would never allow me to do today. Actually, a lot of these events you wouldn't allow me to do because it was a Cajun cook-off in the auditorium and a big Mardi Gras party. It was beautiful. Al's here somewhere. I know you helped. He ran anyway. The proceeds from that went to start restoring the grammar school. And that was before the Sutter Creek Community Benefit Foundation. And then they asked me one night, would you mind if we take this over? And I was like, absolutely, please. But thank you. And I want to.
I don't think it, I think the wire, you have to kind of tweak.
I just want to talk really loud then and say the visitor center would not be what it is without all the volunteers. So that's okay. There's a lot of them here tonight. Thank you. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Do you want to do that? Yeah.
Lisa, I think we want to get a quick picture. Does it really make sense to just, yeah, how about the volunteers or whoever's here, it's part of Lisa's team? And while you guys are assembling, I just have to add that it's not only all those things that Julia listed that Lisa's done, but Lisa is always willing to give some advice or offer a warning or just share her knowledge from all these years that with anybody else that's trying to do something. And I've experienced that and I'm thankful for that.
Julia, if you want to get in the picture, I'll get you in the picture with her. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
Sure.
Oh. This is.
But I hope it comes up, so that's what they say, sit on my- Jeez.
Nicely done, Julia.
I told her he put all that stuff
Yeah,
on one page, but I would like to redo it now that I
add that up.
found out about the
Yeah.
elementary school.
People in a second. Okay, that brings us to our public forum, which I'll open in just a moment. I want to remind everybody the procedures of the public forum. Under California's Brown Act, the council is not permitted to respond or engage in discussion on items that aren't on the agenda. So for that reason, the council will not respond to public comment this evening. However, your comments are important and they help inform the council about the community's questions, priorities, and concerns. Please refrain from applause or booing between speakers so that everybody feels comfortable sharing their views. Can you give me a show of hands of how many people wish to speak tonight? Okay, great. So speaker time is limited to 5 minutes. Speaker time is limited to 5 minutes, and then the city manager's report is immediately following the public forum. And there's often content in his report that might answer some of the questions or be along any of the topics that you brought up. So that said, I'll open the public forum. Would anyone like to address the council on an item not on the agenda?
Hello. Think that's working?
That's on, yeah.
Hello, my name is Tom Calmes. This was more reference to the last meeting, but we had Embark in here and they were talking about you guys are moving procedures forward. Owner, operator of cannabis retail businesses in our neighboring county, Calaveras and Sonora, which is in Tuolumne County. Anyhow, when they were up here, they said they were a small mom and pop shop. They're, in small businesses, counties like this. They have, according to the DCC, I believe I found over 20 active licenses in the cities they're in. Almadena, 77,000 people population. Chico, 105,000 people population. Fairfield, 123 people population. Fontana, 221,000 population. Fresno, multiple stores with over 500,000 people in that population, over 1 million in the county. Madera, over 70,000 people. Martinez, 33,000 people. They have multiple stores in Lake Tahoe area. Redwood City has 83,000 people. Riverside, multiple stores with over 325,000 people population in the city, over 2.5 million in the county. Sacramento, over 500,000 population, over 1 million people, over 1.5 million in Sacramento. San Bruno, 42,500. Tracy, over 104,000. Ventura, over 100,000. Woodland, over 100,000. I'm just confused which small cities they're from. None of those seem very small in comparison to like San Andreas, Sutter Creek. I'm not saying them or me. I think there's room for two. San Andreas is a perfect example of that. San Andreas, you can Google it, population about 2,900 people. Sutter Creek, population about 2,800 people. For over 13 years, Blue Mountain and San Andreas Green Gold have existed together. With the county having multiple stores, you're going to see more money because not everyone's going to go to one store or another. People want choices. It's better for the consumer to have choices. That way, one person can't just charge whatever they like. The city, the council has the power to choose what rules they want to set forward. Myself, I know Embark is offered to pay 8% taxes and 1% to a community benefit. That, from my understanding, they run with people they have volunteer and decide where it goes in the nonprofit. Just out of so many stores, that money stay here in the community. Because I'm willing to pay 10% to Sonora or to Sutter Creek myself on taxes, and another 3% towards schools of Sutter Creek specifically. So that's 13% taxation over that, which is more money back to the city. And once again, you guys have the power to control what you want to allow, what you don't want to allow. So if you're going to allow it, obviously we're doing it for financial reasons to help the city in their budget. And there's other things that can be helped in that budget too. I'm completely fine with that taxation. I have more experience running stores. I mean, I've been running this business since 2010, while Embark's been open since 2020. I specialize in the small counties, small towns. I have no desire to go in the big cities. I know how to deal with the people here. I'm not, big, loud, flashy. We keep it down to a minimum and we provide a good service. And I think that, they probably provide a good service as well. Well, I mean, if we're going to allow it, I mean, it's a pilot program. You guys could choose to allow two. And if it doesn't work out, obviously the community is not going to support two. One's not going to survive. But if it does, they will. So I think hopefully we can maybe get that added onto an agenda, maybe adding two, maybe up the taxation to benefit the community. You want to benefit the community? Charge more. I mean, and I know that they have projections of 10 million a year. It's possible, but I mean, I don't know what, really experience they would have with all the cities that they deal with are much larger. While I have experience with Calaveras and Tuolumne, and those counties were seeing about $8 million in marijuana sales a year from each county there. And that's with multiple stores, not one store. So, I mean, those are probably realistic numbers, but they're not far off. And hopefully you guys will really consider allowing two. It'd be better for the community. Higher taxes would be better for the community. And, for the schools, schools are always struggling. And I'd be glad to pay 3% towards that to help out the community. Anyway, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Susan Ross, Sutter Creek resident, and I appreciate the gentleman from Calaveras addressing his issue. I just want to remind the council that Josh Lewis is from Sutter Creek. I've known him since high school. He's always been a man of integrity and always been civic and community minded. And I think it was in his heart when he brought the proposal to the council to begin with to provide funds for Sutter Creek and to the community. So I ask you to please keep that in mind. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Ron Houck, Sutter Creek resident. We've been talking about the opening of the first high-potency marijuana dispensary in Sutter Creek now for weeks now. At the recent Planning Commission meeting, 4 out of 5 members of the commission voted in favor of placing Embark's high-potency dispensary in a most vulnerable location in Sutter Creek. Colorado was the first state to legalize recreational marijuana, opening their first THC retail pot shop in 2014. 4 years later, in 2018, the Centennial Institute of Colorado Christian University did a study on the economic and social impact of legalizing marijuana. No one is discussing this, the economic and social impact. The Institute found that legalizing recreational marijuana in Colorado is a net loss. For every dollar of tax revenue received, Coloradans spent $4.50 to mitigate the effects of marijuana. So for every dollar spent, Coloradans spent $4.50 to mitigate it. For the city council, this may be the most important moral decision you will ever have to make. This decision doesn't just affect Sutter Creek, but also affects all of Amador County. Your decision will have an impact on the health and well-being of our entire county and everyone in it, young and old. By the way, I passed out a report on what I just mentioned as far as that study right here. Okay. Your decision will have an impact on the health and well-being of our entire county and everyone in it, young and old. If I were on this council and had to vote on something this important, I would appeal to the advice of an authority higher than myself. I would think WWJD. What would Jesus do? How would Jesus vote if he were sitting on the council? One thing I know for certain, Jesus would never vote for anything that would ever harm children and adolescents in any way. The Bible is very clear on that in Matthew. National Poison Control Centers report a dramatic surge in cannabis-related incidents since legalization, with children and teens making up more than 75% of those incidents. And we're talking about hospital ER visits here, et cetera. And this is from the Rutgers Addiction Research Center. The vaping is the most prevalent among 18 to 24-year-olds, with nearly 45% reporting vape use. That's from the CDC. Here's a brochure for Cushy Punch gummies. I passed this out to you also. Cushy Punch gummies. Cushy Punch is the top-selling marijuana, one of the top-selling marijuana gummies for sale in California and Michigan, advertised heavily. Cushy Punch was established in California in 2014. Known for cannabis oils also, and potent dosing squares. I don't even know what that was, but it's one here on the brochure I passed out. It looks kind of like SpongeBob. The oils have THC vaping flavors like Strawberry Cough, Mango Dream, Pineapple Express, Sour Tangy. I have to ask, do these sound like adult products? And I know Embark sells these products, and they have up to 90 to 99% THC in some of these, especially in the oils. Advertising these products sounds like something you'd see on Paw Patrol, not on adult TV. Do you see where the market is here? This issue is a danger for our youth, our children, our families, and a nightmare for parenting.
30 seconds left.
In light of all this, how do you think Jesus would vote on this dispensary? If he were sitting on this city council, HWJV, how would Jesus vote? If I were sitting on the city council, I would definitely vote with Jesus, which would be a no vote for the dispensary. Thank you for your time.
So hello, my name is Suzanne Hauk, and I have lived in the beautiful town of Sutter Creek for 10 years, and I thank you for your time. I will continue to speak out against the Embark dispensary coming to town until I'm no longer allowed to. I don't want to spend my time tonight talking about stats and studies. You've been given so much information already that it seems pointless to give you any more. I'll comment on some remarks that were made in the last Planning Commission meeting on July 8th of 2026. Before casting his vote on the dispensary, Commissioner Mike Kirkley shared that our youth, our kids here in Amador County, go to Calaveras to get their pot. In essence, he said, it's the same thing if they get it here from Embark. The difference being we will get to enjoy the financial benefits in Amador County because of the business that it will bring in. It's all about the money. The thing he did not say is the ease and convenience of having the dispensary right down the street makes pot more visible, more accessible to our youth, and they will be spending more money than before using the Embark products in large numbers. Mike voted yes on Embark. Also, before casting her vote on the dispensary, I believe her name was Meredith Hansen, a retired nurse living here for just 2 years, said that as a nurse she was and is much more disturbed by the ER visits from fentanyl and opioid overdoses than THC ER visits. In essence, she said, let's not worry about all the data and stats regarding THC overdoses. These are not as big a deal in comparison with the volume of ER visits for fentanyl and opioid. What? What? We should ignore what THC poisoning is doing to our youth and that the numbers of ER visits are climbing. A really foolish statement coming from a very intelligent and educated nurse. Meredith voted yes. In fact, the whole planning commission voted yes. So disappointing. At the same meeting, Glenn Spitzer pointed out that the rate of ER visits and the rate of THC damage and abuse is rising exponentially each year, and that history has shown other substances in years gone by were deemed safe as well. For instance, heroin was considered a safe medicine. Developed by the pharmaceutical companies in the late 1800s, heroin was initially marketed as a non-addictive, safe alternative to morphine and to codeine. It was widely promoted as a cough suppressant, a painkiller, and a remedy for respiratory illnesses before its extreme addictive qualities led to global crackdowns and regulations in the early 20th century. Another example, at one time, cigarettes were considered a quote-unquote healthful habit. In the 1930s to the 50s, tobacco companies heavily advertised to the public and used throat doctors, TV's commercials, to assure consumers that smoking was harmless and even aided digestion. It was not until the mid-20th century, culminating in the 1964 U.S. Surgeon General's report, which everybody I'm sure remembers well, unless you're not as old as me, that the mainstream medical community officially linked smoking to cancer and other fatal illnesses. Studies on today's new potent THC use is just now starting to unfold. Reports saying THC is harmless and helpful after reviewing new studies and stats, many of which you have been given since last December, is ignorance and denial for the sake of a buck. No matter how much money Cedar Creek makes off this dispensary, it will all pale in comparison to the damage that will be done on so many fronts in the years to come. Don't be like the other counties or cities who have caved on the lure of financial benefits. This will not have a good outcome. Please go back and reread reports and information that have been provided to you. Search your hearts and search your minds and ask yourself if this is really going to benefit our community or do irreparable damage. The supposed harmless THC use is on the same trajectory to make the same history that the use of heroin and cigarette smoking made not that many years ago. I ask you with all my heart to vote no on Embark. Thank you.
Anyone else care to address the council on an item not on tonight's agenda?
Well, good evening. It's good to see you all again. As a reminder and for the record, Josh Lewis, Government Relations Manager for Embark. Really just here to speak to a couple of things that have been said online in recent days and even here in chambers. First, I think there's been conversation that this project isn't local and that we are, a big corporate titan coming in to, ruin Amador County. And I just want to say emphatically, I am as local as they come. And I think I am so honored and so excited to have the opportunity to have had joined a successful business and to bring that business to the town I love so much. And similarly, especially with regards to other cannabis operators who have been visible in this process, both online and in chambers, comparing our scale of operations to their scale of operations and saying that we're a big corporate giant is a bit like saying, in state of California with their respective footprints, that McDonald's is a massive corporation and Burger King's a small town fry cook. That's the truth. Similar scale of operations, about 4x the footprint. Similarly, as it comes to the allegation that there's been any impropriety in this process, as you all well know, and as I hope the community will come to find out, this process has been entirely above board. When I say I reached out to council members in December, I sent 3 emails and didn't get a single response. I reached out to city staff, who eventually met with me, and then the very next meeting we had was in a public forum here in this room, where we were able to have a discussion about the project, and council ultimately voted to accept an application for a dispensary. At that time, we didn't even have property, which is the cornerstone of a development agreement application. Continuing on, conversations in public forums have continued, and now the entirety of our application has been posted online for public consumption. Would encourage you all to check it out because we really do mean what we say, and we really are committed to serving this community. And I know that a lot of us have the same goals. I was a young person here, and I know the damage that is done to young people here. I believe that illicit cannabis contributes to that damage far more than well-regulated, responsible retail cannabis ever could. That's why I brought this project here beyond the financial benefits. And speaking to those financial benefits, we are genuinely excited to serve this community in a way that is commercially viable and successful for both the business that we're hoping to bring to town, our employees, our vendors that will also benefit, but also the city. And to that end, we aren't offering an astronomical rate for our community benefits fee. That wouldn't be sustainable. We wouldn't be able to serve the Sutter Creek community with the longevity and stability that we hope to bring through our operations. That is why, every part of our application is intended to provide a responsible, measured approach to cannabis retail in a way that protects public health and safety, protects the city's long-term benefit from onboarding this new frontier, and for protecting and serving the nonprofits that are in our community today that are too under-resourced, as we all know. So I'm incredibly excited that we had the support of the Planning Commission in moving forward with this project. We look forward to seeing you all again on the 17th of next month. But really just, again, want to say that we are so grateful to have the chance to present on this and so excited to potentially serve the Sutter Creek community in the near future. So thank you.
Anyone else care to address the public on an item not on the agenda? Okay, then we're going to close the public forum and go on to the city manager's report.
Okay, good evening, council. Good evening, everybody. Before Lisa leaves, I do want to say, Lisa, you've been great to work with. I really appreciate it from a staff perspective. You've done some great advertising in magazines that go out, across the state, and just thank you. Very well deserved tonight. Yeah. Yeah, it's his job, but yes.
Final word.
So it's my update tonight. Our number one priority has been our wastewater planning. Tonight is all about wastewater. So you're going to get a major update tonight. We also had a ARSA meeting last week. We approved the ARSA budget for the year and also some terms for discussion with ION, which is pressing for a new agreement. So on the code enforcement front, a meeting with 2 code enforcement officers, consultants tomorrow morning. They come highly recommended. I'm eager to meet with them. I've also spoken to the county about potentially hiring their code enforcement officer. So we'll have those 2 options. And then in terms of project plans and capital projects overall, you're going to get an update from Dan in our next meeting about all the projects in the budget and kind of how we see those playing out over the year. We are looking at, if you've been in the parking lot, you can hear the swamp cooler. It's working, but it's very noisy. So we are looking at potential replacement of that and also some air conditioning in time for the Ragtime Festival, which doesn't give us a lot of time. Sutter Hill repaving should start July 27th, and there'll be public notices going out about road closures. And there'll be a couple of days for the people who live on Sutter Hill, where they will have to walk to their home, I think, while the asphalt is hardening.
Will there be places reserved or announced for where they can park?
They're going to have to park on nearby streets, basically. Same thing we did in Ora Madre. There's much fewer people, I think, that live on Sutter Hill than Ora Madre.
When will the announcement go out to the residents about the closure and parking?
Yeah, as soon as
Will
we're
that
ready.
go,
Yeah, I mean,
just so people can start planning now?
as soon as we get a construction schedule, then we'll start letting everybody know.
Because that should be at least a week ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's,
as soon as we can. I mean, as soon as we know that Jeff's going to be starting, then we'll be sending stuff out.
okay. But even announcements, some type of announcement ahead of time,
Again, it's only going to be.
that's only a week away.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to reroute traffic, and it's going to be just same things we did in Ora Madre, where those people couldn't go to their house for a day. We'll do the same thing in Sutter Hill, but it's really just that one development that's going to be impacted. So
How long will it be closed for?
I think we're saying 2 days of not driving cars on it. Yeah. Well, we don't have a date yet, but we'll get the news out. So it's been in the newsletter.
I don't think it's going to be closed where you live. You live in the apartments, right? Okay, it's
Yeah,
the
it's
closure
between
occurs
Eureka
from
Road.
Eureka Road down to Highway Old 49.
Right. Yeah, we've announced it in these.
But I will
meetings.
say the sooner the better that these people get a heads up, even though we may not have the construction schedule. We seems like it says right there, July 27th. Is that just a?
We're waiting for
hope
confirmation.
date? Okay, so that's not a drop dead.
Right.
That's the day. Okay.
And usually we'll go talk to the people. We'll
Yeah.
go put notices on their house
And-
and actually
and
physically talk to them.
knock
make
on
sure-
doors. Yeah, please.
exactly.
Yeah.
They will definitely know before we're out there. I mean, they'll hear us, but they will definitely know.
And then finally, happy to announce the diving board is operational. Again, thanks to the Community Benefit Foundation from the duck race 2 years ago. It's very happy that is finally up and running. And then the pump track construction started in Bryson Park. On the economic development front, we're having a startup social in partnership with Sacramento State tomorrow night on Main Street. When it was the RSVP event, we've got about 30 people RSVP'd, so should be good. And then Embark is coming to council on August 17th. And then some other updates. So again, Amador City, we're still waiting for responses to the proposed police contract to provide law enforcement services to them. Our auditors, we're getting extensive questions. Again, this is our first year with a new auditor. Not seeing any serious issues, but I think they want to have a really strong foundation. So the next couple of years, they'll go very smoothly. So we switched auditors and we also switched financial management systems in this year that they're working on. But Mason has been pretty consumed answering questions. And then I just wanted to, if you guys drive around town, you've probably seen that we got multiple projects that are started. The townhomes up near Bryson Park are underway. They have their building permit. Valley View Commons is kind of well underway. They also have their building permit. And then on the planning side, Sutter Creek Ranch, those 150 homes kind of revitalized. So I kind of got a little skeptical it was going to happen, but they seem very interested in pushing forward. And then Panner Creek has also had some recent submittals on environmental work for that project. So those will be coming to you as they're ready, but I just want to let you know that we're seeing activity.
I'd like to add that I noticed and talked to Lisa, and she gave me the heads up that where the Brews and Blues used to be, there's a new business called Gardner's Market
Yeah.
that Amy Peterson will be starting and being involved in, which will hopefully bring a draw to people at the north end of town. So
Yep.
that's a big plus.
And I also think there's a new barber shop coming in, right? Well,
It's moving.
at the top hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, moving, but
The swamp coolers over there, they're loud, but do they cool the building?
They work. I mean, they don't work very well, but they
Okay.
work.
So they work like grammar school work or work like,
I mean, they work like, but the metal's kind of deteriorating, so most of the water kind of falls out of them. So it's kind of one of those. We need to get them redone. We actually signed the contract, so we're just trying to see if the contractor can actually get them in before in a week or two.
and then in terms of community events, I mentioned the event tomorrow night, and then the county fair is coming up, and then the Ragtime Festival, August 7th through 9th, as well as our regular kind of events on Saturdays and Sundays. And then for your agendas, so the next two meetings, we're going to discuss solar and battery kind of plan for the wastewater plant. August 17th is going to be the Embark agreement. I don't expect there'll be much else on that agenda. And we also have our annual impact fee report. And then the audit will be coming to you guys as soon as it's completed. And then I had mentioned in the last couple of meetings the potential of canceling September 8th. We've decided to go ahead and cancel that. That's the day after Labor Day. So there won't be a meeting on Tuesday, September 8th. And that's it.
Is the Sutter Creek Ranch project, is that still lots or now they're thinking about actually building homes?
They're doing just the lots bit initially. Yep.
Thank you.
okay, any questions for Tom? All right, we're going to move on to item 6, the approval of the minutes from July 6th.
Unless somebody has anything, I would move to approve.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Julia seconded. Dan made the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Is that way okay with you, Clerk
Yep.
Tom?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
All right, we have one item on the consent agenda, the agreement for mitigation payments for Gold Rush Ranch specific plan area. We can go ahead and approve that on consent.
I'd like to pull it.
Okay, we're going to pull that.
Yeah, I would like to say Derek is here. And I also neglected to introduce the rest of the panel, but we'll meet them next, I guess, in the next item. But do you guys have questions on the item?
Yeah. Was that 1.5 million, was that the total cost of the project?
That is the cost in 2026 dollars.
Right. Okay. Was the argument made that that intersection, prior to that intersection being done, it was Forest Products Road, and it came down, it was about 100 feet, 500 feet or so to the west of where it's currently located, so it was not aligned with Bowers Drive. There was, I'm not sure about the timing, but we have the shopping center, you've got Lowe's up there, Safeway, and all the other businesses located there that use that road. It was misaligned with the previous road. And my question is, why should the cost of that road be totally borne by the new development that might occur in Gold Rush Ranch? When it benefits, that road is, I'm sure we've all used that road numerous times. I use it all the time. So it doesn't just,
Yeah.
I just don't understand. So maybe you can explain the ACTC's argument that it should, that cost should be borne by just
I
the new
think
development.
so. I've dug very deep into this one. I called the former ACTC director and Sean Rabe, and
Okay.
I think the way it's characterized is confusing and not helpful. This is in the Gold Rush EIR as a mitigation, and we are evaluating this new process under the existing EIR. And so, from the city's perspective, this is an ER mitigation that we are upholding that's in the current EIR. And the laws have changed in terms of asking for upfront payments. They're much more at the time of permits, doing it on a per unit basis, kind of complies with current law. And the developer agreed to that. And so it kind of solved this disagreement with ACTC.
So the developer was involved in this process, had some input in this process?
Some input. I mean, it's really between the city and ACTC, and it's independent of any one developer.
Right.
So, and Derek, you might as well jump in. Do you have anything to add?
Yes. We've been talking with everybody. We've obviously had extensive discussions with ACTC and their council, but we have kept the developer in the loop. This is really, I think, the best way to move forward. It really does bridge a significant gap on what would be a significant issue. I'm happy to answer any specifics, but I do want to emphasize that Tom and I have probably worked on this, for maybe, Tom, it's been at least a year or more that we've been working on this.
Well, and the whole issue's been around much longer than that too. So I appreciate your efforts.
But
I diminish that.
I will say the specific plan is very clear that the Gold Rush developer is responsible for reimbursing all of the RTMF. RTMF is the Regional Traffic Mitigation Fund. So we're not really playing with any ambiguity there. So as Tom mentioned earlier, really the only question that was in dispute was how much is that RTMF worth in today's dollars, because the work was done, that work was done in 2013. And, we did work hard to get some true up information from ACTC, and I think we've satisfied ourselves that 1.5 is a reasonable value for what that is worth in today's dollars. But I do want to emphasize that it's not a question whether the developer has to pay the reimbursement. That's very, very clear in the specific plan, that obligation.
Thank you.
So I have a question. It's 1.5 million, the mitigation fee total and some change. Using a mitigation fee of $1,007.12 per single family unit. That adds up or divides into 1,504 units to come up at $1,007 a unit to come up to $1.5 million.
So that's the cost per single family home. The specific plan includes commercial space, multifamily space. So all those different units pay different amounts, but if the entire specific plan was developed, then yes, that comes out to 1.5.
So a commercial space might be assessed.
Would be assessed.
Equivalent to 5 single family units.
Depends on the square footage, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not just relying on the single family units, because otherwise there's.
Yeah. And like I said, there's been some changes in case law around CEQA and the payment of these kinds of fees. So
it seems
back in the day, they'd have to pay all this at once, and now they have to pay per building permit.
And the resolution, it seems clear, and I just want to be sure that there's no escalator on here or something that's going to kick in down the road. This amount now is fixed, whether it's for now and the next 10 or 20 years going forward, it's not going to change that per single family unit cost.
Correct. That was kind of the point of this negotiation was.
But to clarify, I think what Julia just asked on the So I think, Julia, you asked, so we're not relying just on the single-family homes to repay this. Well, in fact, we are, is my understanding. There's commercial stuff is going to have to pay their own RTMF fees as they would normally, but that money is not pointed toward this repayback. This repayment is built on the 1,500 or so homes at a little over $1,000 each. That equals the 1.5, and that's all. We'll do regular RTMF on those buildings, and we'll do regular RTMF on commercial and anything else when the time comes. Make sense?
So how,
There'll be additional RTMF on a single family home in addition to the 1,000.
Absolutely.
To the mitigation fee.
Yeah.
Thank you.
okay,
Right.
thank you, Dan.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And the agreement with the Amador Transportation is that they'll get that money as each home is built?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to thank Tom and Derek for their work on this thing. I know it was
long.
a difficult, but just FYI, from my perspective, the outcome is about as optimal as we could have hoped. And thank you.
I had just a trivia question. When it talked about the new traffic study measurement metric, that's new metric, on vehicle miles traveled. How are vehicle miles traveled actually measured for this type of, for the new study process?
So, I mean, traffic engineers, instead of measuring congestion, they have models for average distance of trip based on whatever kind of facility is and where job centers are.
And what kind of a trip it is. Is it a shopping trip? Is it a
Right.
trip to your job? And each one is allocated a certain mile
Okay.
based on an engineer's study over a lot of years to figure all this stuff out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a,
Okay.
And it's
I
not
was just
really
curious.
that new anymore.
no.
Yeah, it's
No,
new
it's just
since Gold
different.
Rush. Yeah.
It's different than what the original Gold Rush
Well,
metric was.
again, this is something ACTC is asking for. We are evaluating the project against the existing EIR. So we're going to comply with this agreement, but that's not necessarily one of the conditions of the EIR itself. So.
Any other questions on this? Did the
Doesn't want
public
to.
have any questions? Okay. Entertain a motion if anyone wants to make one.
So I'd motion to approve the agreement for mitigation payment in the Gold Rush Ranch specific plan area as proposed.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
That's 4 in favor, 1 opposed. Okay, our administrative agenda. First is, there's lots of sewer. The sewer system management plan. That's going to be you, Dan?
Why did everybody leave before the sewer?
Just
Because
a
it's dunk.
small project here. Sorry, I should have loaded ahead time.
I should. It is good.
I'm shocked that nobody wants to talk about collection system sewer.
I know. It's so riveting.
Yeah. So this is a fairly newer regulation that came around. It's been around for maybe 10, 13 years now. But it tries to make a plan so that we can be ready for our sewer spills. And it tries to make sure that we're ready for everything and that our goals are aligned with what we're doing in our field. And so this plan as long as we write what we do, we're fine. If we write something that we don't do, then that's where they get mad. So we have to just make sure that everything that we write down is what we actually do. So this plan needs an update every 6 years, a formal update. And every 3 years, we sit down and like 2 or 3 people, and we just go through the whole plan and do a little audit and have a little check sheet and say, oh, we're doing this or we're not doing this. So the new plan, there's 11 elements to the plan. We did updates in pretty much all of them. The first one is the goals. We're trying to keep sewer out of the waterways. Sorry, let me pull up my screen so I can see the presentation too. So we're trying to minimize the number of SSOs. We're trying to also minimize the impact of the SSOs. So if we have an SSO, but it doesn't sanitary sewer overflow, and it doesn't go to the waterways, then we count that as less invasive of the environment. So that's our goal, is to reduce the number, reduce the amount of them, and to make sure that we have enough collection system for future growth. So minor updates that we had, there was an element 4. Oh, sorry, I skipped one. Organizational update. People changed jobs, so we just put the newest people in there. We had a little short flow chart of how the organization goes. Not really much to it. So minor updates. In the past one that we had, we didn't say that we even had a database for our problems. So we have that. We have a map that shows the boundaries of our system. We also have a SSO equipment inventory list that we made this time. We've had the equipment before, but we've never had a formal actually sheet that said what we actually had. So now we can go off that and see if we need new stuff like that. And then back in 2024, we updated the emergency response plan. So we added that one in there. And I was just going through it right before the meeting, and there is a couple areas that are wrong in there, so I'll have to update that. But that should be no big deal. For our FOG program, fat soils and grease, we need to create a campaign to tell everybody what not to put down the sewer. When we went through the old notifications, we had one little blurb and one sewer bill that went out about 3 years ago or something like that. So that's not adequate anymore. We need to have posters. We need to have them publicly available. We need to educate the public on what not to do.
Right.
That's generally what we need to do.
And your plan is to get that done by the end of this year?
By the end of this year,
Yeah.
yeah. I had AI create me a little, couple charts right there. I did this for my old job, and it was kind of more, don't throw grease down the drain, that kind of stuff. So we can be as cute as we want, or we can, try to be as
Right.
catchy as we want. But we'll bring this back to you guys to make sure that we're on the same page with everything. Wipes, not putting wipes down the drain too.
Oh,
but-
you just said wipes.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not fat, oil, or grease. But
Yeah.
now it scares me. I listen to the radio quite often. They're advertising something called dude wipes. Basically, baby wipes for adults,
Oh.
males. And so that's coming down the pipe
Oh,
line
yeah.
so is there any, and it got me to thinking, has there been any pushback from municipalities and about?
Yeah,
these
at my
wipes
last
that-
job, we tried to make a national campaign to go against the wipes,
Uh-huh.
try to get the word out, but it
Or maybe at least reformulate them so they actually do dissolve?
yeah, because the problem is they will
Gum up?
break up, but then down the road they'll reform and they'll
In
get
a-
clogged with everything else, and so then they make a
Right.
bigger problem. So
Okay, well, I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that there's something trying to be
it's
done.
definitely it's definitely an ongoing issue. Yeah.
On what page are
ahead.
we on?
No, I think the gentleman wanted to say something.
Yeah, just on the wipes, flushable wipes.
Yeah, they're
issue.
flushable.
Right.
Yeah,
So
flush.
there's a campaign led recently by CASA. I am a member of CASA, like California Association of Sanitation Agencies. and they were able to pass, the state passed a law that they cannot say flushable wipes anymore.
Oh, good.
So it can basically prevent that perception of
Oh.
like these wipes are flushable that can go through the basically it's called Love Your Pipes, right? That's kind of like the
Okay.
campaign name,
Good.
Love Your Pipes. So just to answer
I
your
mean,
question.
they outlawed plastic bags, so, and that seems like a minuscule problem compared to what you guys go through.
Yeah, I would say
Right?
about 75% of our sewer spills that we get are because of wipes. I mean,
Yeah,
just if I had to generally,
Yeah.
guess.
On page 36, the grease traps that we have, there's a list of food service people.
Mhm.
I was just trying to knock that off in my head and see if that seemed like all of them. I mean, are we considering this complete? Are we satisfied with this list? Because it's some bed and breakfasts, I think, and not all of them. And then my second question related to this is the schools aren't on here, and the schools serve, several hundred meals a day.
Yeah, I think it's only if they actually prepare the meals. So there was some question between me and George about whether they prepared them on site or whether they brought them in. So we'll have to do a inspection to see that. This was our old list, had a bunch of stuff, and we updated the everybody that was on that list. We didn't go around and try to find new tanks. So that would probably be something we would do in the next time.
Well, this is kind of new because, Motherlode Catering's on here.
Oh yeah, a couple of them we knew like just off the top
Right.
of our heads,
Also in that table, it says, that's table 7.1, right? Where it says chocolate and then it says unknown. So what's that about?
That means we don't know if the if there's a tank there or not.
But we're going to find out.
We're going to find out.
And we're going to update that report with
Yep.
that information.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would probably be in the next annual update. We would go back and update this table. I mean, we'll figure it out earlier, but we'll formally put it in the report on the next update.
Okay.
Well, I know on the next agenda item, that's an issue that we have as we're planning this, is we've got too much
We got to know.
fat. Yeah. So it seems like this would be pressing.
Yeah, definitely.
Will there be annual or semi-annual inspections for in the fog ordinance?
Usually you do annual. If it
Because
says semi-annual
in
there.
Element 1, it says implement one of the city will implement the following, a fog ordinance and perform inspections semi-annually to ensure grease interceptor traps are operating correctly. But the other references throughout the plan refer just to annual.
Oh, it should have been annual. Yeah, that was a typo on my side.
So it's just.
Yeah.
What's the process in going in and inspecting a trap? I mean.
You just
what-
go in there and you ask them for the records for every time that they've had it hauled out, and then you do a visual inspection of it. It's usually pretty fast.
Okay, so would it be, given that 75% of our issues are coming from fog issues or from wipes, that it could be semi-annual
Probably
at the
not.
beginning
but-
until people got the message?
They're not as big of a deal as like the industrial users, that kind of stuff. That would have more of an impact on our thing. It could have an impact, but it would probably be more on the 10 to 20%.
The wipes are residential issue.
The wipes are residential.
It's really kind of
Okay.
separate from the grease trap.
Yeah, exactly.
I was
They all
Putting
they all
signs in our
contribute.
public, in our
Yeah.
own public restrooms, here in town would be a huge
Yeah.
benefit, because the number of people who run, or bike, and then they run into the bathroom because they want to spend the rest of the day in the city. I think that's a common, the dude wipes that you were talking about, those are pretty common with bikers.
Yeah, so we would probably put those posters around town, kind of in areas like a public restroom, in front of the auditorium, that kind of stuff.
Not in front of a restaurant.
No, not in front of restaurants.
Okay.
Maybe in the bathroom, but not not in front of
At the
restaurants.
visitor center.
Definitely
No,
not.
but I know with the bikers and the runners, it's, especially you're going, you want to spend the day here. Those are common toys.
Yeah. Mhm.
Could we maybe do a social media campaign on?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's just another part of it,
Okay,
but yeah.
great.
Dan, I was curious, where where do we indicate when those inspections took place and what the results were? Where is that documented somewhere?
I could not find a record of that,
Okay.
so
But we ought to start.
we
doing that.
will have a records of that.
And
yeah.
it should
That-
be in this report.
It will be in this report, or it will be an addendum to it, something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of one of the things that comes out of this is what we're not doing and is what we should be doing. And so that's one of the main things.
Thank you.
The other question I had is on page 28. I think it's just another typo. Under element 4.2 at the top of page 28, says the city is planning for a new WWTP, keeping costs down, significant data has been used in CIP. Over the past years, the city has replaced the over 2.5. Should that be $1 million?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Otherwise, it sounds like, oh.
$2,
we're
$2.50.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Which is a good lead in to this next slide.
Mhm. Yeah, so on the next slide, here it shows our $2.5 million in I&I repairs. And this summer we're planning, or well, when I wrote this, we thought that it was going to be this summer. It turns out that it's going to have to be next summer because of all the permitting and stuff like that in the creek. But we're going to be replacing some more pipe in the creek so that we can really stop the SSOs from going into the creek because that's one of the main goals of this. We do have a deficiency that we didn't address during this update. We have a hydraulic study that was created back in 2002. Grant didn't have a file of it, and honestly, with all the repairs we've done, it probably wouldn't be worth updating that. You'd probably have to start with a new plan. So we'll bring that to council next year for our next fiscal year and see about getting that updated.
Oh, okay. So we're not going to do it this year.
No.
All right.
It's
Because I had a question about
too
that
long of a
and the
lead
budget,
time.
the
Yeah.
budget to do
And
all
it's,
that.
it's not in the budget either. So yeah,
Yeah.
we would probably try to do that next year.
Okay.
And it still works. It just doesn't have the right growth in it anymore, and the pipe sizes are different. So
What is hydraulic capacity?
it's just making sure that all the water can go through and actually not come out.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just making sure the pipes are big enough.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they were, and they still are, because you can tell if they weren't, we would see water coming out all the time without a spill.
Okay.
And that doesn't happen for us. So we know it's working. We just don't have a report to say that it's working.
Okay.
Right now.
There was, I can't find it right now, but there was an area that specified the capacity required for schools. It's like 8 pipes or something. Do you guys remember reading that part? Do we have that to all the schools?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
So
Laura.
8-inch pipe maybe?
Might be a minimum pipe size.
Yeah, I think so. I could probably
Yeah.
find it while you continue to talk.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that, Claire. So.
It might have been in the design specs. Okay.
Mm.
And so this next slide kind of shows that we are making progress. Generally, we're making progress. Now, with data, you can kind of do whatever you want sometimes. But it's good to see that we have a reduction in spills. The volume of spills is less. The amount of water that reaches the surface waters is less. The recovery, we recovered more, so that's good also. And then the overall spill recovery, that's kind of an extra data point that, but it just shows that our $2.5 million is actually doing good, and that we're keeping more of the wastewater in the pipes.
Right.
It's not getting out in the environment.
Right. So I was just going to ask you, because those are, impressive metrics, but I'm not sure I totally understand them all. I was going to ask you, what's from your perspective, the most positive metric, and what are the ones that are left that are concerning you?
Yeah, I would say the volume to surface water is the biggest one that everybody talks about.
Okay.
That changes it from the categories. It makes it a bigger category for us to actually
Because that's where the rubber hits the road, so to
yes,
speak,
exactly,
in the bad
Yeah.
way.
And all we're trying to do is keep the water from getting the sewer from getting to the water.
Yeah.
So if we have a big spill, but we contain it all the way, well, that's fine as long as it's not too much. you
Okay.
know? So that's the number one metric that I would go by. And then I would say total volume spilled, that's probably the next one, because if you're getting on all your SSMP stuff, if you're really cleaning your pipes, you shouldn't have really big spills. You'll have little ones that'll come, but it shouldn't be backed up and really big.
Right.
And then, yeah, just the resolution, we need to update this plan to CWIX. So
Right.
this resolution is just authorizing me to submit the plan to them
Right.
with those minor corrections.
Dan, before we do that, in your report, because it's the same subject here, my question was, why year to date have we only cleaned half as many lineal feet as in 2025? Is this good news or bad news?
If we're not having spills, it doesn't matter, to be honest. But it's a preventative measure.
That's what I'm trying to get my head around.
Yeah, it's great if we can. So if we have the time, we go out there. If we have a day, me and Jeff will sit down and we'll say like, "Hey, you're light next week. Go clean some pipe."
Okay.
If we have a lot of stuff going on, we don't get to it,
Right.
and it won't show up until we have a big spill or a
Exactly.
So that's what we're trying to make sure we don't get to.
Right.
We try to keep on that schedule. So if we have 23,000 or whatever it was last year,
Yeah.
we try to do about a fifth of the system.
Yeah.
And usually, it'll get to winter and we'll be like, oh shoot, we haven't even done this. So now we need to go out and start.
Got it.
Usually the transition periods between winter and summer are good times
Right.
to go out there and really clean.
So a fifth of the system. So in other words, every 5 years, the whole thing will have been cleaned.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a reasonable expectation.
Or if you can do that, but also you want to hit the hot spots.
Totally.
You don't want to hit, the parts that are clean. Maybe every 5 years you want to do that, but
Okay.
It's very based on where we know problems are, and we go out there and we try to clean them regularly so we can keep them from reoccurring again.
Right. Makes sense. Thank you. I don't have any more questions.
I found the schools part, it's more just a curiosity, but we should know if these standards are met. So on page 152 of the packet, it's got the minimum size sewer lines for a bunch of different things. Schools, commercial, industrial. So normal service sewer size to each lot is 4 inches. Schools and other developments expected to contribute high sewage flows shall be served by 6-inch or larger service sewers. Do we do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Grant goes through, and anytime there's a new development, he gives them a minimum size and they have to do that. So, and then we inspect it when it's out there too.
So we're in compliance with all these documented specs that we're
Yes.
saying
Yeah.
this is what we do.
Yeah, that's pretty standard for everybody. So that's usually not the part that we worry about too much.
Gotcha. All right. Good.
If Dan's done, any more questions for him?
Not from me.
Yeah, I think we do want a motion.
Yeah. So I would move that we approve the staff report wastewater, the SSMP as presented in the packet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the moment we've all been waiting for. Does anybody need a super fast break?
I'm okay, but if
Okay.
you do, we can take 5.
Go for it. Tom, are you going to start?
Yeah, I'm going to start here in a second. So first of all, I think you've met everybody, but we have Bill Slenter from Hydro Sciences. He's our advocate. He represents the city as we work with Schneider Electric. We have Moses Becara from Schneider Electric. He's the head, what's your title?
Program manager.
Program manager. And then on Zoom, we have Dmitry Semenov. He's from Ridgeline. He's been helping us with the fundraising strategy and the financial model. So I'm going to kind of run through a presentation. I'm going to say, if any of you guys have comments as we go through the esteemed panel, add your comments. And then we'll do questions and answers kind of at the end. It's just a few quick slides. Give that a second. Yeah, so, since we signed our design build contract last fall, we've been meeting very regularly starting last November. And this is really just a small part of the team. So Schneider Electric, there multiple 5 or 6 employees have been actively involved that we see in the meetings. I'm sure Moses has more back at the ranch. Wallace Group is doing the specific engineering on our wastewater plant. Avila and Associates has been focused on the floodplain issues and FEMA regulations. Montrose Environmental is looking at CEQA. Robinson Byron Inc. Really focuses on the water board and permitting. And Paul from there came when we had the meeting with the water board. He was there in person. Closina is the manufacturer of the packaged sewer treatment plant. And then WM Lyles is the company that would do the actual construction. We've probably seen the least of them so far, but
Right.
they've been involved in the design, already to make sure it's constructible.
Moses, do you oversee all of these entities in their participation in this project? Thank you.
Yes, and more.
Yes, and more. Sure. Yes, absolutely. Okay.
Right. And I left out the energy pieces, which
Yeah.
is solar battery and energy savings. And so what we've been doing since November, or what the team's been doing, is really investigating all these regulatory issues, environmental risks, and kind of big open issues, I guess. Spent a good chunk of time characterizing our existing wastewater flow and the contents of it, as well as looking at, forecasted growth for the system. We went through an alternative evaluation step, and we've gotten a very preliminary, proposed design. Bill, anybody else to add on this slide? Okay. And so in terms of regulatory environmental issues, the current plant is actually in the floodplain. And, we spent a lot of time looking at that, what that meant. The new design cannot increase the rise during the flood. And so you'll see we've modeled a lot, or they modeled a lot of different things. And, ultimately the proposal is to raise the treatment portions of the plant up out of the floodplain. That was felt to be more cost effective than to trying to, and it didn't even look like it was feasible to put a storm wall up, but then it would impact the level of rise during a flood. We're also looking at discharge requirements. Likely will require a cooling tower by the water board to put water back in the creek. And we may need to address copper and zinc, though there are ways, I guess, to show that is normal level for this area, but that would require us paying for some specialized studies to basically get an exception to be able to discharge the higher content of those things.
With those requirements, is it still our intention to push forward with that goal in mind of discharge into the creek?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we didn't identify any flaws from a biological or cultural resource perspective. We're really working in the existing plant footprint, avoid working in the creek itself. And I think I've shared with you guys when we did meet the water board, they've been very supportive of this project. They haven't asked why aren't you part of a larger region? We are going to go back and give them an update. They're expecting one. We told them we would give them one.
Do we indicate to them, that we may be the new regional solution for some?
Yeah, absolutely.
If Martel or we are kind of regional. It's just going the other direction.
Different region. And again, they see the complexity and with ION and CDCR. So I think they're supportive.
I mean, we are regional with Amador City and with Martel, so we can already argue that we're regional. Just a smaller region, but
yeah.
Will that benefit or affect any grants, or given that we could be larger scale, Therefore, the necessity for, the funding is even greater than if we were just a local plant. Would it have?
Yeah, I mean, our challenge is just the number of wastewater customers, very small,
Yeah.
right? And that's our biggest challenge. This is example of the flood modeling. I'm going to ask Bill and Moses to maybe describe this one.
Sure. So this was, 2D computer model of the creek passing by. You can see the wastewater plant property is that cutout to the north. I believe it's a little hard to read. This should be existing.
Hey, Bill, could you bring the microphone just
Oh,
up a little
sure.
more closer? Thank you.
I believe this is the existing condition. Can you read it there, what the title says?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says proposed removal of building and wall to existing.
Okay.
So removing that building actually created a.
Yeah, the water, as it comes down, wants to overtop on the upstream side to the right, kind of flow through the site, and then it hits a berm there and wants to come back out into the creek. So that is to develop our understanding of what the model says the impacts of that site are on water surface elevations. It becomes the basis for the alternatives that were developed.
And this is a 100-year flood.
Right.
We have seen the plant flood, but I think you're trying on average to be at zero, right? It's trying to average out the reds and the greens.
Yeah, any impacts from new construction should average out to zero. A little more work to do there, but this was at a level that was sufficient to inform feasibility at a 10% level and start to zero in on a pathway that would avoid letter map revision, which is an extensive process and somewhat risky.
Hey, excuse me. What are the units on the green to the pink?
They are, looks like 0.15 feet. So 0 to 0.1 foot up to 1 is the reddest, and -1 is the deepest green color. So we're looking at a pretty fine level.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this I think is one proposals, we remove that building there to let the water out while we protect the storage pond, which is still part of the new plant.
The storage pond is a very important asset for keeping the size of the plant reasonable. We need to be able to accommodate that large increase in flow that happens when it rains. There's some groundwater infiltration that happens. It's an older system that's being repaired, but that will take some time. So that basin provides very critical buffer storage so that we can control the max flow into the wastewater plant and keep that wastewater plant from having to grow much larger and more costly.
So is that the solution back 5 years ago or something when we were looking at a different what was that, Jim?
The equalization.
Yeah, is this instead of the equalization tank that kind of sent us over the top last time?
It's smaller, but this will act as an
It's
equalization.
using something that we have.
Yeah, this will act as an equalization basin pretty much.
Cool. And I guess another thing that's kind of interesting, so you can kind of see the levels of the wastewater plant. This lowest level is where it is. The medium level is where the office is and some of the vehicles are parked today. And then this upper level. I think part of the plan here is to leave this older equipment here so that it doesn't impact the water flow. It's actually better to leave it there than take it out.
What is the red line?
So that's a new.
And that's a new wall?
Enhanced berm to basically protect that pond. So it's a minimum level of flood protection that we would need for that one asset. And then subsequent modeling just needs to satisfy FEMA that our net increase or net change in water level averages 0. So there might be some localized rise and fall, but that it averages out to 0. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
So some other things in the staff report you probably saw. So these high biosolids in our wastewater is driving up our costs. we do need to implement some pre-treatment programs where we would go to commercial users and really require them to do some extra treatment at their locations. And we're continuing to do sampling, and smart meters are really about flow, but being used to really understand kind of our system and where things are coming from.
Tom, I know you brought this up in the past, that there seemed to be one, maybe two primary sources that these are originating from. Do we have any update or any ideas?
I mean, we still think it's
Where the
mostly-
highest volume of these pods are coming from?
Yeah, I mean, we still think that right now that mostly that it's Ramco.
Yeah.
And again, getting them on a regular schedule where they're not dumping a bunch of stuff into our system will be
Wasn't-
really important.
I mean, besides being behind in their sewer bill, wasn't that addressed at the same time? And that would have been, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, they put in a system, but then it needs to be a backwash.
Yeah, and it's still not working. I mean, whatever they're putting to us is still got the whitewash. I mean, it's still very high concentration.
Are they incurring anything else other than our patience in dealing with them?
I mean, we're talking to them pretty regularly.
I mean, they did put in a system.
Yeah,
At
he
least
put in
we're
a system.
most of the
We
time.
we toured the system. We couldn't find anything wrong with the system, so there's something there that we have to figure out. That he has to figure out actually.
I was going to say that he has to figure out. That's
yeah.
why I'm saying that.
Yeah. He
Encourage.
still has some more equipment, I think, that he's purchasing. So I think the system's going to get better, but until we see that in operation, we just won't know.
Will there be any point like a go no goes, like either this gets regulated and comes within range, or
We don't service you anymore.
we don't service you?
I mean, there will be a point where we get to that. I don't know if it's when the new plant comes online or if it's before that, but it'll definitely be before the new plant comes
I was
online.
going to say the new plant isn't going to be for a couple more years. So
Yeah, well, the thing is right now, our secondary treatment can process the water.
Right.
I mean, so it's a problem, but it's not a problem that the current plant can't handle.
Can we forward any of these extra expenses in dealing with this back to them, saying your problem is causing our expense?
There is some language that we can give fines to.
I would highly encourage that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no encouragement or really motivation on their part to move forward on this.
Yeah, you're right. We've been trying to work with him right now at this point because we don't have all the data yet.
Couple
But
of years now.
Well, and as a former,
So again, it has changed. I don't want you guys to
Yeah.
be very negative. He's been really working with us. He's allowed us to come over and inspect. He did put in a recycled
Well, definitely.
treatment system. We think what's happening is instead of having like Sierra Septic haul away the backwash, that somehow periodically it was going into our system. Not all the time, but like once a week or twice a week.
it almost seems like his recycled system has actually concentrated the BOD, and so we get higher spikes of stuff coming through.
Then it should go off site.
Right.
It should go off site, yeah, or he should build something on site that can treat it. Either way. I mean, so.
yeah, and with the volume of wash they're doing, and I was a former customer of theirs, and I know what I sent to them and how it came back, and I do my own laundry now for my restaurant, and it's like really intensive cleaning. So I
Yeah.
think we should be mindful of that not going to us, because
We still
gotta
don't,
be some crazy.
we still don't
chemicals.
have sampling data from Martel. That's our last question mark on another industrial user. We know his is bad, but we don't know if it's also being contributed by Martel. So we're trying to rule that out. And once we know that he's pretty much the primary concern, then we'll focus more on him and really get down to
Where
brass.
is that in Martel? I'm sorry.
All the Martel water goes to a pump station, then it comes over the hill to
Oh.
us. And so we haven't tested that yet. So we just don't know if that's also a contributor or if it's just him. We pretty much assume that it's him, but we're not there yet.
So assuming that all gets solved, will we still have high BOD and need to implement a pre-treatment program?
We'll probably need to implement a pre-treatment program for him, but it won't be probably other. Not sure exactly.
Anybody that we identified.
Yeah.
Keeps it out of our system, so it lowers it, right?
So the pre-treatment program is the client's, not ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like something to hold everything back so that what we get is only like closer to residential.
Have you, just a question, have you done any research on larger municipalities that do any sort of sampling at the end of a line of a commercial cleaning operation? Like, can we get the data directly from there? Is
That's
that
what we
what's
did.
going down there?
Yeah, that's what we did. Yeah.
Okay.
There's the manhole right over there, and we've been collecting samples out of that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing we saw, again, we've doing these I&I repairs. We're still seeing high peak flows. And again, teams spent a lot of time modeling it and looking at data, and we collected more data. But as we said, we think we can reuse the existing storage pond as the equalization basin. It'll work with the treatment capacity. The Cloacina plant, this package plant, is modular in design. So the base growth forecast right now is based, I think, on the State Department of Finance. So it's relatively low rate of growth, like 2 to 3% a year through like 2050. But then, we did talk about these potential developments on the horizon. The initial plant would be expandable to support those developments. And then if we had development beyond that, we would have to look at purchasing a second package plant or expanding the treatment capacity in some other way where those developments would really be responsible, I think, for paying for those.
Right.
Is it the current plan, I think serves up to what, 5,000? I think residents?
Yep.
So would there be room? Is there a plan if we need to add extra storage or expand other tanks on where those would go on the property, on the same property?
Yeah.
We have some ideas that's been, a topic of discussion. Just, and again, it's a trade-off of not overpaying for the future now, but making sure the design could expand in the future.
Said backup.
Yeah. But, it's everything. It's power. It's a power that comes to the plant and how we do the layout on the ground there, which is a little bit challenging. So we're still discussing it. I mean, Moses has heard me ask for that.
Does the whatever permits were granted at this time, will it allow for some growth? Or are we just, technically we might be able to expand, but administratively
permitting works. I don't know how the permitting works if we get permitted for expansion up to a certain amount.
Right. So the main permit we're talking about here is the discharge permit from the water board to the creek. Generally speaking, these permits work on base of constituents and pollutants going based of that treatment. So if you're not changing the characteristics of the discharge, generally speaking, it should not be a problem for expanding in the future. Now, we all know regulations could change. Nobody can grant what the regulations could look like in the future. Assuming regulations will not change, there should not be any issues. Definitely, if regulations change, then in the future you just have to comply.
So
like
typically you can scale up in volume as long as you're not changing the content or.
correct.
As long as
discharge.
your effluent isn't over the limits, then you're
Okay.
fine. Because like right now for our secondary plant, we have a dry weather flow and then a wet weather flow, and so those are vastly different, so it doesn't really matter as long as our effluent isn't polluting the creek.
Okay.
Then they don't care, about it as much.
So is this a conversation you all have had with the Gold Rush folks that if they're interested down the line in building that quantity of homes, like that
It's,
we have to think about it and finance it now?
There would be connection fees, right? I mean, built into.
Connection fees, it's in the EIR that at some point they need to make major contributions to the plant. The 150 homes is within our existing capacity. So
But I guess the question is, are we financing a plant that could sustain that development? And are we adding to our dollar amount so that we can plan for that?
no, so the initial plant has enough treatment capacity for our forecasted growth. And then within that initial plant, we can expand over time as developments come in. So there will be connection fees from whoever it is. If it's a really large development, and I think we can negotiate for even more contribution to the plant.
I'm a little confused about the day one, and I know we're not in detailed design yet or anything, but just overall, did I hear you say what we're building is something for a capacity of 5,000, a population of 5,000? So that would include Gold Rush and these other things. Is that correct?
5,000 people.
And how many?
time.
And how many
We're at about 3,000 people
today?
Usually 2.5 people per house. So, you're talking, what is that? 500 new houses.
New houses.
Which includes all three agencies. So we're the preferred treatment for Wicklow Way, if that ever happened. So it could be some combination of 200 homes in Sutter Creek Ranch and 200 homes at Wicklow Way.
Okay.
Or however it kind of shakes out.
And commercial use also.
That was
in,
my question.
Yeah, Martell area.
Yep.
So, we take Walmart, all that whole area already.
But if there's new commercial businesses into, say, Sutter Creek Ranch, how is that factored into this 5,000 kind of cap?
Yeah. Again, it's all factored in based on usage. The commercial there is mostly retail. It's not,
we're not talking restaurants or gas
it's,
stations.
it's pretty small, right? Yeah. So
just to ask you one more time in a little bit different way. So from a philosophical perspective, we're building to possibly accommodate 5,000 people. Gold Rush is looking maybe to get 150 lots where there would be no payment to us for an unforeseen time because they're just building lots that they would send to a developer. And I really don't know the answer to this. Do we have to finance it that it can be bigger than we need now so that developers can come and develop it? Maybe that's to our best interest. But I just wonder.
again, we're sizing it. Maybe you guys can help here. We're just buying one, what they call train, and we're not even fully populating that. So again, I think the idea is to pay for as little as possible up
To
front.
start, yeah.
Okay.
But then within that initial train, that can be expanded by adding more canisters, or is that what they're called? More canisters. And then once that thing's totally at capacity, then you're talking about adding a second train.
And then that cost could possibly, of the second train, could possibly be funded by.
Right. That would be unusual growth
Mhm.
beyond like our normal growth between now and 2050. So that would be some unusually large project.
And the extra capacity in the first train we can use if we attract new customers not within the city limits, which would, more customers helps solve our problem. So anything in Martell or, Amador City doesn't have a
Guys,
lot of room.
correct me if I got that wrong or.
I think that's the concept. And so we're at a schematic design level. We've laid out something that navigates all the regulatory and site challenges. And now one of the optimization considerations is how much can we defer parts of this? We know that we can defer equipment until that build out demand comes. We do have to do some base work for the whole project because we're fitting it into the hillside. And there might be some parts that are difficult to defer. A contractor to come back in later and add a tank section on when development happens. So we have to make some of those nuanced decisions about how much we can push off until that development money comes. We have the base plan is we don't put the equipment in for the added capacity, particularly the membrane cassettes. And we're looking at what else we can push off and still work within the kind of the tight layout that we're doing.
So to think about in a different way, thanks, Bill and Tom, but what's must have, I always like to use this analogy, must have, important to have, and nice to have, right? So must have is what you currently need today or yesterday or like a couple years ago, right? So that's what we call it the must-have, and that's what we have been mainly focusing on. What will coming on into the optimization of the next phase of where's the city is trending in the next few years here. Yes, we have some room for the development, Gold Rush Ranch, 300 homes, for example, that can be built or accommodate into that. But do you want to build this today? Do you want to build this in a few years or whenever time comes? How you plan that must have important to have with your enterprise financial business planning from enterprise standpoint of the wastewater. That's one side of it. And some areas will need to be built today, basically all the underground infrastructure, because it doesn't make sense in a few years if you have a new development
Tear it up.
to dig up the ground and tear off everything and then put a new infrastructure, versus some areas definitely can be deferred for the future, and whatever new development can contribute into that cost. So that's the strategic thinking that we have been talking about. Definitely the next phase, all of this will get further polished.
Right. And it seems as if the financial aspect drives a big part of this in terms of what's feasible, in terms of how much money can we really get our hands on in the next 5 years or whatever to pay for this day one deliverable. Is that right? And so I know Dimitri is on the line. He'll talk a little bit about that tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't all practice as a group, so
No,
I'll present it, but he's there to answer questions. So
Yeah.
I don't want to put him on the spot to say, present anything.
Moses, thank you for explaining that. That makes a lot of sense. But my question is if we could replace new customer everywhere you said development, not replace it necessarily, but if it's an option. So along the way, if somebody else wants to be a wastewater client of Sutter Creek, we can pop them right in there with this day one model that we have. So we have the opportunity to expand our customer base and relieve some of the financial stress.
Right.
Conversely, though, and I agree that makes sense, but I just want to make sure we're not subsidizing developers.
Yeah, right. Yeah, makes sense.
So that makes me ask the question, when was the last time we did a nexus study on our connection fees? And is that?
That's
we need
coming
to
up.
update
A
that?
couple slides you're ahead of me. This is just a chart of our BOD and our effluents, and you can see the crazy spikes that we're seeing. Is there anything else you saw this on?
Which one's the worst, the blue, green, or red?
Yeah, if you look at the blue line here, and that tells you basically all of these organics coming into your system today, right? So we have been taking data over the past few months and plotting this on the go. We will continue to do so. Really, the ultimate goal is to shave off these spikes. These spikes are not great. The flatter the line, the better. And the flatter on the lower side of the chart also is, the better. So that's what we have been working with the city, working with Dan's team, going and doing some side investigation, talking to some of these folks, understanding where these spikes are coming from, and not where, but also why. Probably we know the where, but and the why, and working collectively together on how we can work also with the businesses. Plus, you wanted to keep the businesses in here, but you want them also to operate in a way that there's a mutual benefits between these businesses to operate within the city of Sutter Creek, but also operate fairly to what you wanted to achieve. So it's just collaboration and talking together on what works the best for everyone.
To that point, and I appreciate what you're saying, to that point, Moses, have you been involved at all with any of the discussions with the laundry down the street here, since that has been identified as the number one culprit?
Yes, we have performed many visits together to Ramco. I was not personally, but somebody from our team was there with Dan and Gary. Also, we have visited multiple other businesses, including vets.
That's in the area.
Yeah, the septic. Yeah. So we have visited, we talked with them in a friendly manner, understanding how they operate, what they discharge, and again, trying to identify that, and again, in a collaborative atmosphere,
Yeah.
not in a way that you cannot do that, right? So just
Of course.
Well, and we're also trying to identify if there's any like operational things, because those are those are very cheap to fix. So
Exactly.
if we can find those,
Right.
it's benefit for everybody. If
Absolutely.
they're just turning a valve the wrong way or something like that, I mean, those
Right.
are easy ones, so we're looking for the easy ones right now. And then if it doesn't
Right.
come to that, then we have to get more into the nitty gritty and kind of
Right.
really figure out what's.
I have no idea what the answer to this question is. Does the city have some teeth in able
Yeah.
to
Mhm. Yeah.
enforce?
BOD is capped at 350. So
Okay, so there are
yeah. there are definite rules that we could,
have to be
I
met.
mean, if there are people in Martell, we have to put the pressure on AWA, and then AWA has to put the pressure on their customers.
Yeah.
So it's a little
It's-
less direct.
It's kind of in line with code enforcement that we're
Exactly.
dealing with.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering. how
Yeah,
that
we
works.
have the right to
how
tell
code
them that they
enforcement
can't
works.
discharge to our sewer anymore. So
Okay.
that's within our right, but
Do they understand all the pieces going on here and the options and their responsibilities?
I think Brian does. Yeah. I mean,
Ramco does?
yeah, I've had a lot of conversations with Brian. I think he's very well aware of what the problem is and
Is
trying
he
to help us
aware
out.
to the point of being concerned and, oh my gosh, I better take care of this fairly quickly?
I mean, he seems concerned about a lot of different things. That is definitely one of them. Yeah.
I'm just wondering how, it's a priority for us, obviously, but is it a priority to Ramco?
So it is. I mean, he invested quite a bit of money in this system. And like Dan said, there's some additional components that he can add when he can afford to buy them. So like, I think Moses said it really well. We're trying to collaborate. It's a win-win for both of us.
Right.
He is definitely investing money. But again, we're seeing these spikes and we're trying to figure out why they're happening.
Yeah.
What is measuring so high on those spikes?
BOD.
What,
You typically it's like, a 300 is what you're.
what is
for
what is that?
residents.
What is DO? Like
Biological oxygen demand. So
It's a measure of the strength of the wastewater
Yeah.
coming into the plant, and it affects how big we have to make the biological tanks and how much air, how many blowers, that sort of thing. So that can drive up one of the sizing aspects of a membrane bioreactor.
So is it
Yeah,
treating organic matter?
that's right.
Mhm.
Huh, okay.
And so he's coming in at like 7,000-8,000. So
Yeah.
he's
And
he's like a couple orders higher than what it should be.
I'm all for win-win between the city and businesses, but at some point, maybe we're just on the losing end if we can't get this under control with their cooperation.
Especially if it impacts our building and our plans and our expenses in a new plant to accommodate that. That's where I would say
Yeah,
there's no go.
No, this will be flushed out before the new plant design goes,
Okay.
past 60%, I would say.
Okay.
The
probably.
good news is we got an early jump on it.
Yeah.
We're at the 10% level.
Right.
Yeah.
What we've sized here for the plant assumes that's going to be brought down. And
It has
once
to
we
be, right?
know
It
what
has
the
to be.
steady state number is, we can finalize the capacity of the plant. You know what the membrane bioreactor will be able to do. how
That's
much air.
satisfying.
So there are definite parameters he knows he has to meet.
Yeah. And he knows
Under
what
the new system.
he knows what his obligation to the city is. He has to be under a certain amount. If he's not under that, then he cannot discharge to our system. So
Okay.
we're being very nice right now, right, and helping him out. And when it gets to that point, then we might need to.
Well, it looks like it's been
Bring it
going on, for just since January?
Well, I think
So the last 6 months?
I think before he had his recycled system, we were seeing elevated levels, but we were seeing elevated levels all the time. Now that he's concentrated his system, we're seeing spikes of elevations. And so it's a different problem, So in the last year, he's changed his problem on us, which
Yeah, I mean, those
is better and worse.
Those low troughs are down 150.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
so
what we're saying is sometimes he's shooting a bunch of dirty
Something
water
in.
in. Well, if we sample at the time when he's not doing that, then we get a real low number. But if we sample while he's doing that, then we get a really high number. So whereas before we would kind of get an average,
Can he do his own sampling, Dan?
He could, but I wouldn't trust it.
That would be my next question,
Yeah.
but rather than going in and taking a chance at you go in and sample and it's always on the low end, but then the big graph shows, oh, wait a minute, we just didn't go there.
Yeah,
at the right
that's why we put
to
a,
require him to turn in samples.
Can we continuously sample?
Yes, I
you can, it's just money,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, so what we're at right now, we have a level sensor on his connection. So
okay.
his connection has a level sensor that goes down there. When I see it go up, we know what time those kind of happen. And so we go out there and we say, okay, this is the time to take a sample. So
got
we've
you.
gotten
Okay.
more
Okay,
higher.
sounds like
samples lately.
That answers the question. Thank you, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate your guys' approach and thanks for explaining it to us. I think that at least Tom and Dan know too that the five of us have been kind of made a resolution going through some code enforcement stuff over the last couple of years that had gone on for like a decade that we're really getting hammered with to, you know, not let things go too far anymore. So maybe what we need to say is if it gets to a point that you guys need us to support you to make something happen, then, you know, let us know.
Sounds great. Yeah. Thank you.
So part of this phase one was to consider some alternatives. So we looked at it's kind of a mix and match of Cloacina and this other company, Kubota, a hybrid kind of membraned bioreactor, package plant versus a cast in place, which means, you know, the concrete is cast, plant is built on site. And then we also looked at that mid-level location, and then we looked at potentially the top of the hill, which would give us more space and for future expansions. And we went through a pretty involved day of review and scoring, and the Cloacina plan at the mid-level site came out as the preferred site for a bunch of different regions. There's a few of them that there's strong vendor support for Cloacina. It's made in California, and they actually have a lot of track record of operating plants within California. And we saw it as good value for the money.
Moses, you've worked with them before?
Not personally, but some team members, they have worked with them. And also I know Bill here on the table have worked with them
Yeah.
a lot.
Design a number of plants. We actually, one
Great.
that's going into construction, Greenfield now, one of the largest state.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
So again, very preliminary design, but as you can see here, and I know it's maybe not the best image, but the big rectangle in the middle there is the Cloacina package plant. And there's the new office is the rectangle up on the left-hand side with some walking paths and power and the different phases, trying to reuse as much as we can of the old plant. Once it goes into the storage pond, it would need to be pumped up for treatment, but it's a lot less pumping than some of the other alternatives we've seen in the past. Moses, you can probably explain this better than I can.
Yes, sure. So what we again, what that's what we said earlier. We are trying to utilize existing infrastructure, basically just like the pond. Can we utilize some of the existing assets that the city already have? So basically all the raw sewage technically will go into that call it equalization basin, if you will. And from there, it will be just pumped up to the rectangular shape you see there, which is the treatment plant. That's where you do all the treatment for the wastewater, biological and tertiary, using those terms, MBR treatment. All the sludge, all the solids that are as a byproduct of the treatment process will be sent into the upper side where you see it there on the screen. It's a dewatering for the sludge, so it will be pumped uphill, or not all the way up, but into that kind of upper area of the site for a dewatering process for all the sludge before it gets hauled away. offsite. So, technically, well, not technically, well, it's as simple as it sounds, but it has a lot of challenges around it as the team also really rallied together here on how we can make this within the existing plan. To what Tom also mentioned, we have evaluated the option top of the hill, right, to the property that the city owned. It has a lot of its own complications as well. That's why we deviated from that, where we thought probably this is the best area in place to have the current plant installed.
So Moses, we've been using the word complications a lot, and I understand that we're a complicated place. But are you finding more complications than when we all met with you, 6 months ago or so when we were, have we found a lot of ugly things under rocks, or was this somewhat expected?
We have not gone into like what's under the rocks type of thing, but to answer your question, nothing unexpected so far.
Are the roto screens still part of the process?
They won't be, no.
It seems like those remove a heck of a lot of solids.
They do.
So the membrane system will get rid of all those?
Yeah, the MBRs, yeah, like big filters.
Okay.
So, in terms of next steps, so this was basically phase 1. Phase 2 is actually getting to a 30% design. Now that we have these phase 1 done, we have several studies and reports. We can use those as we pursue financing. So we have Dimitri here. We basically have been building a financial model of the city's capabilities, and we're really looking at all options. So, a bond or loan is basically how much debt can the city afford. We've been working with Dimitri on looking for earmarks, and then we need to find some grants. And Schneider Electric also has a grant team, and so we're at this phase where I think Schneider, Ridgeline, and the city are going to be meeting and really starting to file for some potential grants. SRF, which is the state revolving fund, is definitely a possibility. It could take a while. This could be a long line of people in front of us. Moses has been looking at the Water Smart grant. And then the other category is USDA. And then Jim, you asked about kind of the ratepayer study. I think now is a good time to actually start a ratepayer study. We have a couple of years left on the old study, but essentially the work Dimitri has done is the model that goes into the ratepayer study, and we now have a better idea of what the plan is going to cost. I think where rates are, I think we will show that we could justify rates that are higher than people can afford, and we're just going to have to make a reasonable decision of what's a good increase that would at least kind of keep up with inflation going forward. I don't think we can really expect the large increases that we've had in the past.
No.
But I do think it's a good time. If we do this ratepayer study, we extend the timeline for another 5 years. And again, maybe it's going up 3 or 4% a year kind of range.
Right.
So that's one piece of it. I think growth is another piece. Again, I think it's really important that the council understands that, we don't want to have rampant growth, but some growth, these connection fees. And if we do get some kind of subdivision or something that can contribute a reasonable chunk to the plant, that's going to make a difference.
Tom, can I ask a quick question right there?
Yeah.
That mid-level location, are you able to determine at this point how many trains can coexist up there from a space perspective?
Yeah, that's the challenge. I mean, this is a constrained site.
Yeah.
Can it take another train?
I mean, we've been looking at, could we build out?
I mean, it could, yeah, if you build out a little bit, or if you demo into the hillside. I mean,
Right. So the existing right now will be able to accommodate from infrastructure standpoint, tank size, will be able to accommodate the current flow for the current city
Right.
and the neighboring Martel and Amador City. Also to connect into account the Gold Rush Ranch, 300 homes, and Wicklow Way.
Right.
Certain whatever Wicklow Way is. However, they are not all populated. They are just going to be populated to what you need today, and those are some of the decisions we will be making in the next phase with the city. So if you're asked like how many trains, I think right now we're talking about 4 or 5 trains. I can't remember the exact number. And then if the developments, whether Gold Rush Ranch and or Wicklow Way come online, then you can populate the rest of the equipment in the existing infrastructure or in the infrastructure that will be built.
So, Dimitri, do you want to just introduce yourself since?
Yes. Dimitri, before you get on, I just want to let you know we don't have a volume control on our Zoom, and it's a little louder than you might think. So we'll be able to hear you.
Don't shout. We'll hear you.
Okay. Okay. How about this?
It's good.
That's good.
Very good.
All right. Well, good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Pleasure meeting you. Dmitry Semenov, principal with Ridgeline Municipal Strategies. So Tom has mentioned some of the things that we're looking at, and the process that we're going through is basically getting a project of this magnitude done for a small community is not an easy task, as I'm sure you understand. And the goal of this exercise is, first of all, build a really in-depth financial model of the city's wastewater system and understand what are the capacity and what are the constraints for for taking on additional debt obligations. And that's what we've been working on. I think we're pretty much very close to getting a good result. I think we're estimating that, and Tom, correct me if I'm wrong. I think once the model's complete, we're planning to do a workshop and go over the numbers in more detail. But looking at finance capacity of between $20 and $25 million, that's how much the city could borrow. And this number might change depending on some of the last minute things that we'll be working through. But that's ultimately about as much debt as you can take on with the current rates that are in place. So to the extent that the costs are significantly higher than what the city is able to borrow, this is where we start looking at what are additional funding sources that we might be able to tap in. There was already a discussion of any connection fees. Any growth also would contribute additional revenues that could be used for additional financing. But pretty much going after free money as much as possible, that's the goal. And we already started the process. We've submitted earmark requests to the senators from the state of California. Also had the preliminary meetings at the state capitol. When we work on projects like this, we try to get the money from any and every source, right? So we'll be talking to politicians for the next several years, asking for additional funding. There's a couple of government financing programs that we're looking into. We're looking at the SRF. The SRF is the state revolving fund. It's a very low interest rate loan program, and disadvantaged communities have an advantage in getting the funding. So if we're able to get that, it's a long-term process. It's not something that can be delivered immediately. It's not uncommon for an 18 to 24 months application process with SRF. But there's a possibility of tapping into grant funds as well through that. We're also, the other agency, the federal agency in this case is the USDA, Rural Development. They have loans and grant programs. They're not easy to work with, but we've seen some communities that we've worked with get pretty substantial grant funds as well. So, if we can get some, free money, we might be willing to consider putting up with a lot of pain. Applying for grants, that's a big one. Anything that's not directly tied to financing, both SRF and the USDA, it's a combination of grant and debt. But any additional grants we can bring in definitely would help fund the project. And then depending on where we'll end up with grants and availability to get SRF funding or USDA funding, we may have to go into the bond market and borrow some money. The bond market currently is kind of running in the 4 to 5% range. So that's when we talk about being able to borrow $20-25 million. That's what we're basing our numbers on. If we're able to tap into SRF financing with lower interest rates, that would be more attractive. But right now, we're just being very conservative. So the goal over the next several years would be really to look under every rock and see what type of funding we can put together. It's a big undertaking for the community, but we've seen projects like that get done with a lot of outside help. So that's the goal.
So thank you, Dimitri. This is Julia from the council. I'd like to is there an idea, breakdown percentage, what our current bill is now? It just went up July 1st. So it's $145, $146 a month compared to, say, IOWN, which is $80 a month. Is there a percentage of that $145 that is going into this treatment plant or a treatment plant fund?
I don't know the percentage on the monthly bill, but yeah, I mean, it's part of the budget where we're showing that wastewater reserve growing. That's where it's coming from.
Okay. So when people ask, why did my bill just go up from 130 to 140? That extra amount is going into offset the cost of the plant. I mean, a simple response.
Yes.
Well, it's not.
So,
But essentially it is, but what we're saying is those rates, because, when you go to get a bond, they look at what's guaranteed. And because we've passed those ratepayer studies, they can project that out and say that we're going to get 30 years of payments, and that's how much debt you can get. So based on our current rates, he's saying we can get about $25 million in debt.
Right.
And that means people paying their monthly bills.
okay.
to pay
But
that.
do we have an estimate out of that $145, 15%, 20%, something like that, that actually is going?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the answer for you in terms of the percentage of the bill, but that's the detailed model that Dimitri's been building. It looks at forecasting out what are our labor costs, what's our operational cost, what do we need for maintenance, what do we need to pay for the plant per year as a mortgage, if you will, and totaling all of that up. And so he's saying with the forecast of expected costs and staff, we could also handle a loan of 25 million and cover all of that with the monthly bills.
In general,
Julia, to answer people asking you about this.
Dimitri?
Yes.
You
So
gonna
I just
respond to
pull up
that?
the numbers in the financial model. The total budget, let's say, the city is bringing in about $4 million in annual wastewater revenues, and most of it is coming from the ratepayers. There's some other fees, but in general, the city gets about $4 million, give or take, in wastewater revenues, and about $2.5 million goes to pay for the operating costs, and that leaves about $1.5 million to pay for additional improvements and debt service. So that's an
thank you.
approximation of kind of how your budget shakes out in very round numbers.
Yeah, thank you. That's kind of what I was looking for.
Yeah, if I may add as well here, and I know Tom, Dimitri, we're going to have some workshop to go through these supplementary findings. Yeah, but part of this project is executing this project. Therefore, you can also cut down on your expenses elsewhere. So probably a lot of this expenses that's currently committed today are being used on an existing systems. Part of it is the ARSA system that eventually, once this plant the new plant is in operation, therefore you do not need to exhaust today's dollar into the ARSA system, if that makes sense. So to answer your question, and to what percentage of that $145 a month, it's unknown really yet because it's not apple to apple. Because in tomorrow's financial model, that $2.5 million will not be committed for operational fees because they are today committed for the ARSA system.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Right.
Thank you,
but
Moses.
When we approved those rates, Julia, too, if you were gonna, or if I were to answer a question from a resident, it was based on the rate study
Yes.
that we did back then, which was before we met Schneider, and we had spelled out all these things about labor interruptions. So the direct answer to a resident about their bill today is, the 10% it went up this last year. I don't think you could really designate towards this plant if that's what you were asking.
No, that's not what I was
But
asking.
it was built into that ratepayer study.
Right.
Yes.
We didn't know how much it's going to cost, so it was a lower amount. But definitely what people are paying monthly is going into a reserve that is going to go to this new plant.
Yeah. Because I think as this progresses, there's going to be more feedback and questions from the community. So I'm trying to just head it off at the pass.
Yeah, and we've talked we need to start communicating, putting stuff up on the website, showing some more detail about what's going on. I mean, so far it's been pretty tedious stuff, FEMA floodplain studies and,
So if we're going to continue to ask for money, Dimitri, for the next several years, as you've indicated, at what point do we have to know if we have found enough money or going to find enough money or have the promise of finding enough money to proceed? I know when we started this process, there were checkpoints. So how does that work now if we're going to continually seek funding?
So the way you want to think about this is you're working on both sides of this of the equation, right? You're working on what's the optimal design that you want to start the plant with, and how much does it cost, right? So how much do you invest now and delay in future improvements for when you need those improvements, right? So kind of value engineering, and that's what Moses and his colleagues will be really heavy involved in. And on the other end, you're really trying to shake every tree, see what comes out. It is absolutely impossible to predict what you're going to get in earmarks or grants. Those programs are always changing. The rules are always changing. Funding availability is always changing depending on the state budget, federal budget, who's in office, what priorities the administration is pursuing at that time. So I wish I had a better answer for you, but right now, over the next several years, that will be the game. Every year, you put your name in the hat, and you start drawing things out. Some years you'll come out empty. Other years you'll get really lucky. So that's the game. In the meantime, the design is happening, the permitting is happening, so you're getting closer and closer. A big thing in getting grant funding and earmarks is having to demonstrate that you have put skin in the game. Right. So the fact that the city has raised the rates so high and really push the affordability level to, as much as you could, really helps with getting outside funding. So we've seen that as a very successful practice. So that's how the game is played. You see what type of funding you can get. You chunk the project as much as you can into phases. And then once you get the funding, you start moving forward with it. So
At
right
what
now, we're
point-
just very early in the process, and hopefully there's going to be some more clarity in the next several months.
Dimitri, I'm wondering at what point do we borrow the 25 million?
So the answer to that is, what's the first phase that we're building, right? How much funding do we need, and how much can we borrow versus what's the gap?
Uh-huh.
So that would be the answer, right? So if we cannot build, if we only have 25 million that we can borrow, but it costs us 35 million to build, it's not a good idea to borrow money, right? The priority would be, let's close the gap. And then once the gap is closed, that's when we go to market and borrow the money. You don't want to borrow the money without being ready to start the project. Otherwise, you're just,
it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
I can see it's a timeline or crapshoot.
Right.
Because do you build saying, we're going to get the money, but this is.
Well, no, what he's saying is this is how you mitigate that.
Yeah.
You don't do it. You don't
Yeah.
borrow it until you know you can get.
So no shovels in the ground till we know that we've got funding.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And also being ready to put shovels on the ground puts you at the head of the list for grant funding and earmarks. So when you tell people that we have a project that's ready to go if you give us the money,
Right.
versus we have this project that we're thinking about and at some point we'll start designing. It's two totally different conversations.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dimitri.
So, yeah, that's basically our update. So now if you have any other questions, we got everybody here. So.
Okay, Moses, what's it really going to cost?
Between 42 and 60.
Well, hopefully we'll meet in a few months here and we have much better idea than today. But just regarding the funding aspect of things, it's a really iterative process, right? And it's a collaborative process on how we can really build this, whether in one phase or phases. As Dimitri said, the grants and all of this, yeah, it sounds like very attractive, but it has a lot of other complications that comes with the timeline, construction escalation, certain requirements, etc.
Sure.
So that's where collectively with the city team, Bill here on the table, we need to work creatively on what do we think the best path forward. One phase of a project, multiple phases. Is it maybe we can also discuss, is it better to start phase one with some building and then demonstrate to the kind of SRF, for example, hey, look, we're serious, we're building, but we are really lacking X amount of dollars. Can you help us? Therefore, we can continue this construction. So
that's what we just talked about. Do we move ahead with what we've got? Or do we say, not until we've got the full package, the full funding?
Right. And I think that's a iterative discussion project between the financing team, the city team, and the project execution team.
I mean, if there are pieces that make sense to phase, one example has been building a new office for the workers down there. Obviously, they need something to work out of. Do we do like a temporary trailer, and put off some of the expense? That's just an example, but we're looking at all of that. Like, what can we defer but still have a functional plant?
It's kind of like we went through it a little bit, just making the decision on the solar, right? I mean, it's kind of, that's emblematic of the project at large. Just making that decision and trying to, minimize your risk.
Right.
I think that this is a little off topic, but I think that also pertains to what Tom recommended in our search for the next city manager and their expertise on this.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you guys. Hopefully that was informative.
Yeah, thank you.
Oofta, yes, thank you.
Dimitri, thanks for getting online.
Nice to see you
Thank you
again.
so much. Pleasure meeting you.
You guys,
Thanks, Dimitri.
thanks for joining here.
You're good. Thanks for sticking through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure seeing everyone.
Okay, that's, now we've got an item C on the administrative agenda, the recruitment process, a couple
And
of.
if we take a
actions.
2-minute break now.
Let's take a 2-minute break.
That made sense now. I love your
They don't have to be. Exactly. It's just like that shit, sitting on the corner of the city somewhere.
We know we're getting indicated. Claire, if I were going to tell Lottie what time it is, time of the meeting. Good to see you, Bill. See you. Here it is. See you. Thank you. See you. Take good care. Thank you. Yeah, no. We're committed not to. Oh, so did not work. Am I like? I'm sitting there like. Yeah, right. Oh, yeah.
Where are you going?
I wish you could just like roll it over, be like.
There?
It's like, I don't need it.
Yeah. How long?
You walk outside. You like this.
You?
Anyways, see you. Thanks, touch. Yep.
Almost done. Are we all here?
No, no Tom. You should have backed it.
Right, right, so you know.
Bye.
Thank you. Good
Bye,
night.
Moses.
Right.
Take care.
Travel safe.
Thank you.
Good night.
See you.
Okay, we are back in session and we have an item for the city manager recruitment process to form an ad hoc. There's a couple items that we needed to do after our closed session. Tom, did you want to say anything?
No, I think this is primarily your.
So,
You're right.
we had discussed in closed session, doing something similar to last time around and forming an ad hoc from the council to start working on this with Tom. And then start the process in-house and then see where we're at and come back to the council to decide together if we need to, go out and get a recruitment firm or something. So have an ad hoc to come up with a couple of materials, bring back to the council, I believe in a closed session, Derek said would be appropriate. Kind of a job posting for us to review and go from there. that everybody's memory of?
Right.
what
We said last
discussed?
time that we needed to do an ad hoc in a public session. So that's what
Right.
this is for today, I guess, to
Right.
decide on the process.
I'd be,
Well,
I'd
I'm
be interested in working on the committee. I don't know how the decisions are to,
It's really up to you guys. That's why I'm looking at you. It's,
I nominate Dan.
I think Dan has had more experience, I know, than I have. And who was the committee the last time?
It was Dan and I. It was Dan for the same reason, because he has a lot of experience in this, and it was me because I was mayor.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I not propose that we use that same ad hoc committee as it was constituted previously with you guys.
Do you want a second? I mean, was that a motion?
That's a-
Well, I think there's a couple other things on here. So would you guys authorize the ad hoc to start to come up with an in-house effort? So bring back the materials to the council that we could post ourselves?
I think that would be the way I would want to go.
Yeah, and
Concentrate
then
our efforts to try to do it in-house.
I don't, maybe, I don't know if someone knows better than me, but I wonder, is this something you could do a recruiting process with LinkedIn? Like we would type in.
Sure thing.
That would be
Okay.
one of the.
Absolutely.
that would be included in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
you know, all the things that we could access ourselves,
Right.
you know, before spending $30,000 on a firm.
I mean,
And then coming back to you guys and seeing where we're at. And we may ultimately have to do that, but
Right.
we
We'd
can
start-
try it on our own first.
You know, I think so many tools available that we can do a pretty good job in-house. I think the main difference with the recruiter is, you know, they have a network of connections. They go to conferences, so they know people. But like you said, LinkedIn, there's a bunch of city manager specific job sites and things. I think we just have to be realistic about the time frame. Like we have to give ourselves a little bit of time to do the
Right.
in-house search.
Well,
But then bringing a recruiter on will take, 30, 60 days. So I think if we do all the material work, that will save them time. So
Right.
they could go quicker.
I think too, we could do pretty good AI prompt and it would work on it for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, we'd utilize all that. So yeah, we could bring back a plan and some initial materials and that kind of thing to you all ASAP, along with estimated dates that we might say, let's do this for 3 months. And if we don't have, 3 solid candidates, let's go ahead and reach out to some other people. And in the meantime, have some of the research done where we know to whom we're going to reach out to, that kind of thing.
will there be a consideration for possibility of a temp?
As a last resort. Yeah,
Because
we'll look at all that.
30 to 60 days, and Tom's given his last day is December 30th.
Right.
That, we're looking at 3 months, essentially, 4 months.
I know.
So
Yeah.
that's why I was wondering if that could be a plan B or. at least
All of
a
that stuff.
backup. Yeah.
We'll be thinking about all that stuff. Just, you hope you don't have to go
Oh,
there, but
exactly. Exactly.
So, when we bring back the materials and have these check-ins with, to look at candidates and things like that, I believe Derek said that could all happen in closed session.
right.
So can we schedule a closed session, Tom, at the next meeting? And then
Yeah.
the ad hoc committee can hopefully have some materials for the council to review?
Yep.
Sound all right, guys?
Yep.
Sound all right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
do we need a motion to do this, to appoint an ad hoc? Probably.
I'm not sure what your protocol says.
Yes. Yeah, please make a motion to appoint the persons you want to appoint.
I I forgot you're there. How come you didn't just tell us what to do?
It's the voice of God.
Oh, sorry, my camera's off. Sorry. I can turn it back on.
There's the lawyer.
You don't want to see me at this time of night, although you usually do when I'm there.
I make a motion that we appoint Dan and Claire to the ad hoc recruitment committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So city attorney's report.
I have no report, especially not tonight.
Okay. Council member reports?
None.
Nope.
No.
Okay. I just found my agenda again. I think we're good, right? Any-
Dan, that was a good job on that
Adjourn.
report you did. It's really nice. Yeah.